right, welcome back to Cantina Chronicles. You're joining us today at the Officers' Lounge and deep inside Mount Tantus. I'm Adam.
I'm Ben.
And unfortunately, Grant is still trying to sneak his way into Mount Tantus. We'll see if he infiltrates by the end. Today, we're going to talk about, as you could probably guess, we're going to talk about episode
14.
Already forgot 14 of Bad Batch Flash Strike, as well as issues 1 through 5 of the Phase 3 High Republic comic.
The main run. Stoked about those. We got a little something old, a little something new, little something Blaster scored, little something. Yeah, true.
Yeah. I have a random bit of news, which is something we had talked about, which I heard was confirmed, is that so this is completely, but we're all looking forward to the next big thing, the Acolyte, and we found out, and spoilers abound, and I apologize, don't worry, Ben, it's not going to plot spoilers, but we had talked about whether or not we're going to see Vanessa Rose Light Whip, and confirmed we're going to see the Light Whip.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, it's Leslie Headland said you can't not do that. You can't not put that into canon and not want to show that thing live.
Yeah, it's why even cast Vanessa Rose if you're not going to show the Light Whip.
Right.
I mean, obviously she's an amazing Jedi for so many reasons, but it'd be I don't know, RoboCop not using his hip blaster. Of course you'd use it.
Yeah, totally. And what I fear, I'm very excited, but what I fear is if anyone's out there is like myself, a light Trekkie, Star Wars first, but I do enjoy my Star Trek is first. Did I say Star Wars first? Yes. I don't know. I'm tired, people. This is going to be punchy. You're welcome. But fun. Season 1 of Next Generation, they introduced the Ferengi, which was supposed to be that was supposed to be their big bad, and the makeup and other stuff did not work out well, so it became a bit more of a comical people after a while. But they had their big weapon was a whip that shot out lasers at the end, so it's basically like a phaser, but it was a whip. And every time I hear Light Whip when I read those books, I just visualize the 1991 or 1989 broadcast television.
So does that give you higher expectations for the Light Whip or lower? It sounds like lower.
I mean, I guess it's a low bar to clear, but it makes me a little nervous. That's the last time I've seen a futuristic whip weapon.
Oh man, that's great news. That's really good. I mean, I did kind of expect it. I hope we don't see it in a trailer or anything.
Same.
Yeah, I was rewatching. I'm just so hungry for Star Wars content lately. I've been restarting Bad Batch and slowly seeing things. And they showed the Zygerians. They early. They had to steal a baby Rancor, Moshi. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, right. I do remember.
And one of the chief slaver there had it's Light Whip and I was that was just oh yeah.
Okay.
Sounds so it's familiar. We've almost kind of seen it, and that's sort of what I'm thinking about, but I don't think it's I don't know, a Light Whip is just it's just a murder machine. It just if it just really just sizzles through everything it touches, and you can just whip it around and helicopter style, it's gonna cause some problems.
It's a weird. It feels very non-Jedi like, but that's also Vanessa Rose in a lot of ways. Not to say she's non-Jedi, but she's a non-traditional Jedi in a lot of good ways, I think. But I could just picture we've seen dismemberment done through the regular laser sword, and that's the thing, a whip, it's just gonna be I don't know, it's gonna be putting someone through a rotator blade of a helicopter.
Right. And we just got done reading not Escape from Valo. We did read Escape from Valo.
We did read Escape from Valo. Defy the Storm.
And yeah, good one. It's just there's something about the naming convention in High Republic. I'm never 100% sure that I'm saying the book. I mean, any hoozle in Defy the Storm, we see that Vernestra has sort of gone on this meditative journey for a while, and while she's there, she's practicing with the Light Whip, and she's by the end of that book, she's very, very proficient with it. So here we are, 100 years after that. I imagine she's going to be able to pretty much be a surgeon with that thing. So
Yeah, and we got to the point where she actually did reveal to the Jedi Council that she had the light whip, right? I think that was one of the plot points.
Yeah.
She did talk about. So that also, the second that happened, I'm like, oh, we're totally going to see it, because it's no longer a secret. Like, you could easily write it that she just never revealed it, felt like it wasn't a Jedi's weapon, and just never used it again. But she told them, and they were kind of like, that's weird, but okay.
She was like, this is happening. Yeah. And Mace nodded slowly and was like, that's how you do it right there. You don't even ask forgiveness. Just let them know what's up.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Vernestra's great. I'm excited to talk about Keith Trennis too. I've missed all these people. I just signed up for, I'm actually subscribing to the Kindle, like, to releases now, because I'm tired of being behind the eight ball, like I want to, I miss these stories when I don't see them. Like, I love the High Republic. I want to know, it's like you have these different cadres of characters that I'm all attached to at this point, and I want to keep up with it. And there's a lot, man. There's, especially in, High Republic Adventures, there's a couple of offshoots down there that are fun, and I'm like excited to get into those. I don't think I read the Phase 2 comics, so I just bought them all. I know you guys did, and I know we covered them, but I think they were just, we were in a black hole of not being able to digitally download comics, and so I was just out. It was
rough. It's a kind of a weird moment with comics, with digital. But yeah, I one of my favorite things is I similar to you, Ben, I subscribe digitally. I get them and read them as they come out, but I also, side note, I read every Marvel release every week.
As they come out,
all Batman, DC,
or as they come out on Unlimited.
Yeah. No, as they come out.
Is it $1 million? Do you spend $1 million?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
Yeah, I feel bad asking.
But I will say that my money goes directly to Marvel in many ways that I feel. This is the criminologist me saying this is a techniques neutralization. But. Moving along. So I read, so the Star Wars comics come out along with, another 15 releases, right? And so, like, it's all part of my intake, which I love. But, like, when you do that, you think about the fact that a comic comes out month to month. There's 4 weeks in a month. Like, there's between, like, High Republic 1 and 2, I've read 60 other comics.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I have to actually, like, really read the previously on scroll at the beginning.
You're like, what's going on here? Okay.
And it still doesn't work. But so my favorite thing is, like, reading them as they're coming out, and then, like, when we're going to cover an arc, just sitting down and just reading like 5 comics in a row, because I've realized this has killed me for comics, where I think all comics are bad. No. And I'm like, no, my brain is bad. Yeah. Comics are good, because I'm reading them the way you're not really supposed to read them. Once you sit down and read an arc, like you watch a television show, it's brilliant. And so I was kind of like, whatever about this, we'll get to it this High Republic run, but I'm now like these first 5 issues, I'm like, yes, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, when we get to this. So, okay, we'll stick around because we're going to talk about High Republic comics. We're clearly stoked on that.
And yep, this is my exhaustion brain. The reason I said all that was not to talk about just me, but that we are going to slightly change up how we're covering comics to go back more to covering arcs as they finish
in real time. I think that makes more sense, because I'm doing it anyways. We're all up to speed. We'll all be up to speed on them. Yeah. And I'm excited about that. And the comics deserve their due. Not a lot of people cover them. So that's one of the differentiators of this podcast. Tell your friends.
Even on Wikipedia doesn't like to cover them. If you go on a Wikipedia page of a comic, they have like no plot summary, which is like wild.
It is wild, man. Yeah. And I think I've canceled Marvel Unlimited, though I'm still able to read comics. I don't know how that's working, but I've checked I'm just so sick. Like they make it so hard to read comics. It's so hard. Like I don't have a local place I can buy hard copies from, like on the regular, to follow up.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's like a novelty thing. Comics, remember those? But it's like, if you're really serious about reading them, it's like kind of difficult. You need like a local store. So someone please open a local store in Revere, Lynn, or Everett, or something like that.
Okay, that's the thing. Let's make that clear. Like you live in a major market. It is wild to me that you don't have it. Like I live outside of Providence,
big city,
Rhode Island, and but here's the thing: I got like 2 comics within 10 minutes, 2 comic shops within 10 minutes driving distance of me. Like, and so like I don't know why Revere. Like, part of me is if I was looking for another job, which who knows, maybe I am. Maybe I should just open up a comic shop in Revere.
This area has just been like an old Italian population that's just been getting older, and now there's younger people coming in and younger families and stuff. But whatever. This isn't a North Shore podcast. It's just hard, and like Marvel Unlimited, I'm sick of.
Yeah,
it
is.
It's just like really. It's really difficult to know, and it's just tough to navigate.
Yeah. It's a clunky
and
app,
for like $120 a year, I'm like,
nuts.
That's a lot of comics to just buy straight up. So I did the math, and I'm just doing my thing.
It's gonna be cheaper for you. I still, on top of everything, I still do Marvel Limited because I am also rereading Marvel superhero comics chronologically, and I'm currently in July 1966.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're a busy boy.
I think I broke.
I'm like,
Ben's
how
brain.
do you find the time to do that? But
a couple comics have been.
That sounds lovely.
That's why it's so slow.
That sounds
going,
very civilized.
Yeah. It's very nice. Yeah.
Right on. Let's talk about the Bad Batch. Yeah.
Star Wars. Wait, can I just? I know we're talking about Bad Batch. I just have to say, the time that Grant and I did our show together, the two biggest comic nerds, we talked about zero comimics. I'm solo with Ben, and somehow I got like 5 minutes of comic talk.
Should we talk about Star Wars Unlimited while he's not here also?
Oh, yeah.
I found out he and our buddy Jonathan played like 3 hours of Unlimited this weekend. Jonathan, shout out to you if you're listening. I'll see you on Tuesday for the May the 4th Red Sox game. The Star Wars Red Sox game.
Yeah.
Excited to do that. I'll have some photos from that after Tuesday. I'll try and throw up on the old internet.
Please do.
But yeah, I don't know. I still haven't played Unlimited yet. I'm like, actually, I'm not the kind of guy that like feels like he's missing out on anything. But that game looks super fun, and everyone who's playing it is raving about it. So, sounds rad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get an update from Grant.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Welp. Shall we carry on to hyperspace on the way to Tantus here?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. The penultimate episode.
You beat me to penultimate.
Bad Batch. and everyone wants to go and say penultimate. Yeah.
Well done. No, that's good. That's good. I'm glad we're on the same page on that. First of all, loved this episode. So this is episode 14, the penultimate episode, as you said. Flash Strike is what it's called. I can't believe it's almost over. I can't believe that there's just one more episode. Like, is it going to be a long episode? Or?
Yeah. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Because they don't. It's not going to be broadcast, so they can make it however long they want. So they never really say that. But like the fact that it's one episode shorter. This season's one episode shorter than the last two seasons. I have to assume it's going to be a 45-minute episode.
Yeah, I mean that'd be cool.
And
I don't know. It doesn't have to be anything.
Yeah.
I remember when I was rewatching the first episode they aired of the Bad Batch was like an hour and 20. It was like a feature episode, and I was like, yeah,
it was like a movie,
which is really cool. And I mean, I think that would be fun too. I'm always looking for more content, but the story's the story, and they're just going to tell it. So
it's odd. Like they could theoretically wrap up this plot line in 22 minutes, right? Like they could, because they're pretty close to where they need to be to get. If the ultimate goal is just to get Omega out, and you put like a 2-minute like post, epilogue on that closes up, but like. You also could do easily 120 minutes because there's so much ground to cover emotionally or character-wise.
Right. So this story pretty much took the Batch. They're in hyperspace. They're coming to Tantus, shot down, and they're making their way to Omega at the same time that Omega is plotting her escape from within. So we're on Tantus. This is it. We want to rescue our hero.
Yeah.
We want to know what's going on in Project Necromancer. Maybe they'll tell us. Maybe Necromancer's Necromancer. There's a bunch of, young Palpatines in those vats, and that's all that it's just sort of like wink and nod. You know what's in there, but I'd kind of like to see something. Wouldn't you?
I know. I would love to see something. I think I've come to, and everything I've said, everything I've predicted is wrong. So I'm glad I'm about to say what I'm going to say because prove me wrong. I think I've come to accept that. We're not going to get it, and the reasoning is this is deep Star Wars lore. They don't want to do it in Bad Batch, right? This is like Ahsoka season 2 level or Mandalorian Grogu that they're going to really dive into this, but prove me wrong, which maybe they will, because like again, the seventh season of Clone Wars did some pretty major like canon stuff. So they will do it in the cartoons
too. It was a shortened season, but it was like Yoda communing with the Force before Qui-Gon was.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I guess he was the first to commune with Qui-Gon, and there was there was serious stuff going on in there. So remind me, the term Project Necromancer, was that introduced in Mandalorian, or did we get it in episode 9, Rise of Skywalker?
Oh god, I would have loved if we got that. That would have been such a great episode 9 drop to just put that lore bomb out there. No, it's Mandalorian. It was, which is good, which was like my favorite thing in season 3. They had the Empire shattered. No, what's not Shattered Empire? They have a phrase for it. But all the remnant empires, the remnant empire. The Empire Remnants? Yeah, something like that. They had all the people Skyping in, and that's where you get the Thrawn drop. And that's the same thing around the board table. You get a Thrawn drop as well as the Project Necromancer drop. Because you get,
Right. Oh, so you're talking about that episode where they Skype in. It's all the warlords and
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I guess it is a wee bit sacred. I was, for Grant, because he's not here, I was thinking about him like it would be cool, and we're way a cart before the horse here talking about next week before we've talked about this week, but it would be really cool if they did show a like de-aged Palpatine in the vets, like just something to think about. Like, oh, that's what he wanted to do, but over the next 30 years that didn't happen, probably because we assume Omega's they're not going to be able to reap the benefits of her blood.
They're not gonna be able to do it. And so they've had like a perfect Palpatine clone, but they can't get it Force sensitive, and the closest they can get is like the homunculus that is Snoke,
and then ultimately Palpatine.
We're gonna see Jimar Palpatine again live in person after 24 hours of Star Wars. I may just start laughing.
After being awake
in a good way,
for 24
in a good
hours.
way, like the triumphant laugh.
I'm gonna cheer like I've never cheered. I'm gonna weep.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see the 24-hour run of all 9 Skywalker films in the theater this Friday and Saturday. So I don't even know how that's gonna work, but I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna buy some popcorn and we're gonna watch some Star Wars. So it's gonna be great. So super fun. So this episode, first like blush in this, it's just a perfect Star Wars. Like the tone to me is just perfect. It's just like that you're rushing through hyperspace. It takes them 5.5 minutes to land the ship, to like go through it's like the sequence and the undocking, and then the word to the command center and the brooding Royce. I was so excited to drop his first name that I forgot his last. Hemlock. It was in the credits.
Hemlock.
He's usually just Dr. Hemlock, but he was like Dr. Royce Hemlock this week. And I was like, okay. Yeah,
good Star Wars name. Solid. Good Star Wars name. Yeah, Royce Hemlock. Yeah.
And it's like that, and then through it, and the adventure, and the droids, and the it was just the tone is just like. It made me feel very happy for the future of Star Wars that Filoni's going to be making these movies, because he's rock solid. He knows how to make a Star Wars.
Yes. Yeah. It's very, very true. No, it was a good follow, because last week it's really funny. Like I feel like we've in some ways had 3 similar toned episodes in a row. And like the first one I was like totally out on. I can't remember what that one was. It was like my low point of the season. Still, I mean, it's still Star Wars, so I enjoyed it, but it's kind of like the most negative, I think.
On
Juggernaut, that episode where they got Juggernaut, where they got what's his name?
They stole Rampart out of the prison.
They stole Rampart. It was fine. It was not bad. It just didn't really do much for me. And then last week I really loved it. Felt like that, infiltrating the base, and then like to follow that up with like a second infiltrating the base episode, but like where everything goes wrong is kind of amazing, right? It's like I mean, not to make too much of an analogy of like, it's like Ocean's 11 followed by Ocean's 12. I think Ocean's 12 is a severely underrated film, because like I love the idea of just like, you think we're gonna give you the same movie, but in fact we're going to give you where everything goes wrong and they're behind the 8 ball the entire time. And I'm like, that's great. Like, that is a great way to kind of follow that up, you know? So I really, really love this episode. It really felt like, as you said, like kind of key Star Wars.
And I think I got like, yes, absolutely. I think I got why their uniforms are all black too. I think they're trying to like maybe pass themselves off as those sort of shadow troopers a little bit. Like first blush.
I think you're right.
I was like, it's just great to get another fit there. I mean, a lot of fun things happen with our crew here. Crosshair has officially changed, and we know this because he said he's changed.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. So that's good. We know where Crosshair stands. Always a fave.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to talk about the second to last episode and then talk about not think about what it all means for the last episode. But like, I'm nervous. I'm worried for Crosshair.
Yeah.
Next week.
You know, so
our
like principle that is like the more they show off the abilities of a single character, the more obvious or likely it is that they will die.
Yeah. And then Rampart has that kind of like had that conversation with, have you changed, and like, are you willing to basically ask the question of like, are you willing to sacrifice yourself for someone else? And I'm like, I feel like that's going to get tested, and they may do a thing where he gets to the point of sacrificing himself, and there's Deus Ex Machina happens and saves him in the end anyway, right? But like, I think he's either gonna. I mean, it's Star Wars. Star Wars to me has a bit of a sacrifice play in it. Like most good Star Wars has a sacrifice play in it.
I mean, they already had one really big one, last season with Tech. So
yeah, it's true.
I mean,
it's true.
They could do it again, but it'd be a little rhymey. But
and Star Wars doesn't like to rhyme. It's not like it's a tone poem or anything.
This is our bub. But based on that physics principle, they've actually been showing off, I think, all of them. I think this sort of like 3-episode lead up is like a fun, action-packed romp leading to the end,
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just like, this is why you love these guys and why you love the show. Like Hunter flying the ship in that like stall maneuver where he flips it around. That was amazing. Right on the back of his sweet maneuver to latch onto the ship to go into hyperspace. That was a good flex by him. Echo's getting tons of hero moments here. He is the, 007 spy on the inside, making moves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Wrecker, not as much. Poor Wrecker just got beat up by a space bear, but...
Yeah, but like, it would feel weird to give Wrecker a character moment. if that, it's like giving Chewie a bit of a character moment, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe you do, because like Chewie's best character moments to me are in the sequel trilogy. Like, they actually give like... My favorite part is in episode 9 when he realizes that all of his pets died.
Yeah.
Like that's the part that's the moment in Star Wars that I may cry the hardest. When,
poor Chewie.
He's like, all my pets are gone now. But like with Wrecker, I feel like it would feel forced if you gave him anything. He's the lovable, I was gonna say gentle giant, but he's not gentle, but he is when he's not, needing to wreck shop giant, and like. Yeah, and he's comic relief, so it's like, he's fine. He's not going anywhere. But boy, they've been beating him up, like you said, this season.
He did have a great hero moment in that really fun episode, and I don't have it here, but the one he got to wrestle a space crocodile, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, right. I do remember that on the planet that Space Florida. Yeah.
We're getting lazy with our terminology here, but
Right. Well, also, we miss Grant for many, many reasons, but he is the keeper of the lore of this podcast, where he will always have the pull. We don't. So apologies, but
fun thing here. I mean, Emery recognizes Echo by his voice, which is like what?
Yeah,
but great. That was just like, how did she recognize Echo by his voice? Have they ever met?
I don't know. I mean, no, but she must. But she's working around. She's working with a lot of clones.
I think
right?
She saw his like hand gear and put 2 and 2 together.
Probably. But she's been like conducting like horrible tests on a ton of clones, right? So like, as much as like they all sound different, I mean, you can think about it from like if you're trying to like look at it from behind the scenes, they're all voiced by the same
Bradley
person,
Baker.
right? So they'll have a similar, they all have a similar tone. So that could be part of it. But like, I don't know. I like that. It was just kind of like, because it's also just another clear indication that she's swapped alliances at this point.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. So, they've got that going for them. They being the kids in the vault. There's a Zillow beast there. This is call back to last season where they captured a baby Zillow beast, and now it is full grown.
Yeah. So I want to build off of that for a second because we stream live on YouTube and we often have a couple people join us. And last week, and I did not save the chat. I don't know if that's a thing you can even do. I never do. And I was falling down on my duties last week, and I realized I didn't have the chat open. Or I know I had the chat open, but I was like also doing the Wikipedia thing. So I think I got lost and forgot to check the chat. And someone, and I mean this is just someone. It wasn't Travis. It wasn't our usual group. It was someone else. If you're listening
Filoni.
right now,
that was the one time Filoni watched our pod.
Yes. Or if like you hear this, you sound off in the chat or in the comments, just let us know. Fully called this. Like fully said, wouldn't it be cool if the Zillow beast is in Mount Tantus and they let it loose in the last episode? Which I'm like, that's a good call. I mean, I kind of look at it like it makes sense. Like we know Filoni loves his Zillow beast. It kind of shows up a lot with the Bad Batch. It's connected, but like part of me is just like, does this person have an inside line? It's just messing with us.
For those of you that watched the NFL draft this week, like I know, I did that as well. They're like the reporters aren't allowed to like tip picks, but Mike Reese, who is far and away the best Star Wars Patriots beat reporter, would drop these emojis, and he's like, it's time to dial up the defense, and he has like phone emojis, and the pick was like Marcellus Dial, the cornerback, and like stuff like that, and so all weekend I was getting little drops like that.
It's enough. It's really funny. It's like enough plausible deniability to be like, I'm not. What a coincidence! What a coincidence! Wow. I mean, dial up is a common phrase. Like
you can clearly see here, and here. I did that. So I'm like, oh gosh, it was like an animator. It was someone that I desperately want to impress with our Star Wars coverage and excitability, and we let that one slip. But
But whoever you are, sorry we didn't comment. I usually am better at that, and good job. Like I wanna credit you now, even though I did not write your name down, so I apologize. But like I know you did it. You have my credit.
John Favreau, 42069.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So I guess that I didn't see that coming, though. I mean, we probably should have, because it's like you don't just throw a Zillow beast into Mount Tantus and expect to not see it again.
I mean that is it really tells you where we're going next episode.
I mean, so one of the other important things that they made sure we did not forget was that Echo kind of has his own agenda, and he is like, he's gonna free every clone. He is just that guy saving vets. Like that's what he does. That's his mission, and that's what he believes in. And like, yes, Omega, sure, she's there, but she's really a fringe benefit to, gutting Mount Tantus and busting out all those clones for him. And so it's like, well, if you're going to free everybody, you got to free the Zillow Beast. That's part of the deal now. Yeah. Right.
I have a looking forward question to you.
I love this.
For next week. Do you think Mount Tantus makes it out of next episode? Meaning that like, is it? I guess I can ask the other way. Do you think Mount Tantus is going to be completely and utterly destroyed this week or next week?
My brain, my head says yes. My heart says it's a spaceship and it's going to take off.
Oh my God, I love this. So you may have come up with the perfect solution to the problem that's in my brain. Which is like, so it's the Mandalorian. I call it the Mandalorian season 3 problem.
It's a little wordy. We can workshop
that because, Mando S3 problem.
Sure.
No, Or the
what's the
yeah, it's also well, I can't think of the big bad in the first 3 seasons
Gideon.
of that. It's the it's the Moff Gideon conundrum.
The Gideon paradox.
So the Gideon paradox, there we go. Done. So like here's the thing. We know, and we talked about before, we know that we have to get to the point where Palpatine cannot clone a force sensitive body successfully, like of himself. Like we know that, right?
I mean, he does though. It's not a pretty version.
Does? When?
I mean, Jib-Arm Palpatine
that last.
Unless you think
Yep, that has force.
Unless Jib-Arm Palpatine is his corpse and they're just reanimating his old corpse.
No. No, it is a clone, I think, confirmed. So you're right. But like that can last, right? That seems to be like pretty decrepit from the part. And part of that just like, I mean, maybe it's headcanon, but it just seems like it's just the sheer force, pun intended, of Palpatine can keep that thing alive for however long it needs. But part of me also thinks like that's like the 7th time he's had to switch bodies. Like it just seems like those things deteriorate pretty quickly. Yeah. But like here's the thing is like we know that like season 3 Moff Gideon gets the point of like being able to like make looks like pretty perfect clones that are force sensitive. Like he just says
it wasn't quite
and then they blow up the entire
yet, right?
I thought he said I thought he had said he'd figured it out. Like these are like the one you see a tank of a Moff Gideon clone, and I think he pretty clearly says like, but this one comes with the force. You know, not in that quite clunky of a way, but like.
We'll have to go
back and rewatch. So I'm not 100%.
My memory is that it was like, and very soon they will have force abilities.
Okay. Maybe, yeah. But
yeah, they left it ambiguous a little bit.
They blow the whole thing up because you can't. Because then the question is like, so if they were that close, why 30 years later they didn't get there? And similar here with Mount Tantus, they are really, really close to the crack in the nut here. And this is now
we're throwing around 30 years. So, but that's not right. It's like 50 years.
Well, no. So 30 years from
Bad Batch,
season 3 of Mando, 50 years from Bad Batch, right? So like you have to also explain this technology has to go bye-bye because it makes no sense that wasn't there.
So that means that like Grogu's born like this season, pretty much.
Oh, that's wild too, right? Like maybe Grogu is the output of this whole thing.
No, because Grogu was saved by Keller and Beck.
Oh no, right? And he's 50 at the beginning of Mando, which is 20 years after what's happened. 30 years.
So Grogu's like 20 right now. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he's 20 right now. Yeah, I know. Star Wars timelines are hard. So that's my thought of like why Tantus has to blow up. But I like this idea of like maybe it gets shot into space, it goes like into hyperspace and is lost, right? And so there's just like somewhere in the Star Wars galaxy there's a Mount Tantus ship like lost in space, which is similar to like poor Grant is similar to like the outbound flight stuff in that, which is like you also get like all those little ties into you know the Thrawn stuff as well.
That's interesting.
Maybe.
Or
I love that idea.
Ultimately land somewhere like I don't know, eventually Dathomir, and that's why I don't know. I mean, it seems like Thrawn just wants the witches because they can reincarnate people, and owes them, or he just happened to run into them on Peridia. But I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do with a movable Mount Tantus.
For sure. I love this.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a thing or not, but could be fun. And I think that's kind of everything I had there on that one. We mentioned Royce Hemlock, and so I think my work here is done.
Yeah, same. I don't.
I guess
that's all my notes.
Any other prognostications? I mean, we already kind of talked about the big question is: are we going to see what's in the Project Necromancer crashes? I mean, I'd love if we did, and it sort of gave us a little something else to think about.
Yeah, I hope so. And again, it's Star Wars, so I don't need everything spelled out, but just a little more. Like you said, just show a Palpatine in a tube, and that would be enough for me.
But it's like if it was a really young Palpatine. That could be a nice thing. And if Grant was here, he'd have 500 words of like some insane idea that would work
I'm sure
so beautifully and add to the story and do all those things right now.
Yes.
But that's not me.
No, me either. I just want it kind of look like Matt Smith. So we finally get like a Matt Smith reveal.
Well,
that
you know,
and
I mean, we saw in Rebels like a sort of a de-aged Palpatine, where he like when the way that he showed himself to Ezra Bridger was his young self, his like young senator self.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that like they kind of look like that.
It's kind of wild we haven't gotten it. And Grant again is going to lose his mind when he's listening to this, but like we have not gotten a young Palpatine, like anything. Like that is such fertile ground, and to like just have like a British like person, like evil person, like it's kind of amazing that no one's been like, let's do this. And I'm hoping the acolyte, I don't know what that means. The acolyte takes off, because I feel like that will open the floodgates for these more, playing around that timeline and also telling some darker stories.
I mean, they could melt our brains if it's like Avar Kriss, because it'll kind of look like an older Omega, like just blonde haired, like, Jedi. So, I mean, like, do you want to speed round a couple ideas that aren't Palpatine for a second? Like, I mean, this is for Grant, right? He would say Avar Kriss, would be exciting. And then the other easy one, well, actually, you go.
Yeah, so I think I said at the beginning of the season, so I think another one is just all the Jedi we saw in Amber and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, I think that kind of pulls everything together, so it's but it'll also be like a good reveal, but also makes sense.
That's cool. Yeah. All right, so this is where they are before they get put in Amber later.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do with them. That would mean that those bodies successfully made it out of Tantus.
That's true.
But that's exciting. Well, so this was. I did have one more question for you, and that is, where is Asajj Ventress, and should we care?
Yeah, that's a good question. So actually, that leads into my other question I had that I realized I had a question, which is the title of the next episode is "The Cavalry Has Arrived," but the Cavalry already. If we thought the Bad Batch was Cavalry, they're there. So they're not the Cavalry because they arrived.
They're on planet, but they're not in the. They're not in the building.
Right. So is that the question to me? The question to you, back to you, is that Asajj Ventress, right? Is that Asajj Ventress is the Cavalry, right? Or some other group?
I'm reaching back into like what her lines were just for this. Like I know.
Yeah.
Like her motivations right now are probably trying to find Quinlan Vos and maybe some sort of revenge against Palpatine, the Sith Lord.
Helps.
Or maybe just trying to help other Force wielders. Like she could be an anti-Inquisitor, like an Inquisitor hunter. That would be a sexy mission for her.
I love it. Yeah.
But I don't know like what really motivates her. I have to think she just like wants Quinlan Vos to disappear from all this madness. Like why? I don't think she wants to be involved anymore. And maybe she's not. Maybe she's just gone.
Maybe she's gone, right? I still do wonder if the next animated show is not Asajj Ventress. Like we talked about several episodes ago, but like the early formation of the path, right? Like I really do feel like that makes a lot of narrative sense, and it gives a lot of exploration, and it does not tie your hands as much as something like Bad Batch does, which I think is great. But Bad Batch had a limited shelf life because you only can do clones for so long before like how's this group of clones with like deep storytelling and cloning and all that stuff. So I wonder if there's that like maybe you kind of bring her in, because she also does seem to have an attachment to Omega because everyone does. I mean,
also it's like, so this episode comes out Wednesday, so 3 days from now.
Yes.
And then 2 days or 3 days after that, Tales of the Jedi come out.
Yeah, on May the 4th, right, which is going to be a big announcement day and stuff, I'm sure.
And I'm just wondering if they don't sort of shake hands a little bit, if there's like, maybe not Barriss Offee, but like someone in those things, Tales of the Empire. So, I wonder if they sort of, if there's a little overlap there. That'd be a lot of synergy, and usually that much synergy handicaps your story writers, which you don't want to do for a finale. But
yeah. It's more of a Marvel move in some ways, but at the same time, it's all Dave Filoni, right? So like it's not like it's trying to force in
Filoni does much
synergy between the Acolyte
and that's pretty much like his proteges running. I think they're just cooking.
It is, but I also feel like he has kind of like final say in some of those things, and probably is pretty much, especially now he's what chief story officer. I can't remember his title is, but like, So I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like, let's try to like tie this in. It'd be weird to me if we got all the way through Tales of the Empire without an announcement of what the next animated series is.
Yeah, I mean it'd be great. I mean they're just churning these out. They've got the people. It's first quality entertainment. It's great filler in between like the live things to just scratch that Star Wars itch and keep it going. It'd be great if there was another thing, and like, there's a million, we don't need Grant here to know that like this era they're into right now is like really fertile ground for amazing Star Wars storytelling. But I wouldn't hate if they jumped eras a little bit or did some different things. But ultimately this show has to put a button on sort of the change of the guard from the clones to the conscripted stormtroopers. And that's a lot to do in one episode.
Yep.
I mean, I guess they've kind of been doing it for 3 seasons in a small way each week, but
we're kind of there if you think about it. Like we're kind of there. Like the clones are just done at this point. Like they've been putting them through the meat grinder for this season of just like trying to kill them off, basically.
Yeah.
So I think this might be the most we get. Other than it might be a good fertile ground for a book. Like a book would be a good thing to kind of explore this. Actually, the old Karen Traviss Republic Commando books didn't do this, but like just bring her back. Like again, talking about like old EU authors, bring her back to tell the story of like the final clone commandos, like literally the last ones. There's like tell that story of like there's 5 of them left. We're the only ones left, and we know we're trying to get killed off, but we're still like trying to do it, like trying to make our way through.
I mean, that's very similar to Bad Batch in a lot of ways. I mean,
but make them like true believers in a way. Like it'd be really interesting, right, to tell that story. And you can only do that in a book. It's easier doing a book than
so you mean like sort of from the other side of the lines,
like
they're fighting for the Empire and sort of come to the light.
Yeah, and they and they start seeing the light and why they're wrong, but they're like they know they're like it's almost like their honor is what's trying to keep them alive through the whole thing. The other thing I was going to say,
I just want to actually speak to that real quick,
please, because I can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah,
my headcanon is that the last of the clone commandos are on Tantus. I mean, they kind of, I feel like they didn't see them and they started seeing them, and then like they tailed them to Tantus. That was like the end of season 1, I think.
Right.
And so right. Like my headcanon is like this is where all the clone commandos are, and I mean. Maybe we're to believe, as far as the Empire is concerned, all the clones that are alive are here,
are on Tantus, and if Tantus goes bye, that ends the entire entire
minus
thing.
Whatever clones escaped, that are just flotsam and jetsam in the galaxy after the war for whatever reason, and then the ones that have banded together with Rex and Echo. But I mean, we know Rex ends up on a desert planet with 2 of his buddies fishing for chupas or something.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think they kind of just all sort of disappear into obscurity.
Yeah. Post this era, we don't see the clones that we see are like either hiding or in obscure planets or begging on the streets. Right. We get the Obi-Wan like runs into the clone. So I think this is this is it. Like this is probably the last story of I think, and like I mean we know. I mean maybe we don't know, but like it's a cartoon, so I think we know at least a majority of the Bad Batch plus Omega make it off Tantus alive and free. I cannot imagine this thing ending in a down note. Oof. So we know they're somewhere too, right? Like just probably on Pabu. Well, probably not on Pabu because I guess they know the Empire knows that's where they went. Time,
I have to say, I'm so attached to these characters. I hope they do all live, and I hope they go someplace nice. And it's just nice to have them in their back pocket because if they ever showed up in a live action series, or if they ever just like showed up in another show, my heart would soar to see them again.
Yes, Yeah, I would love that.
I don't know if
yeah.
they're setting that up or if it will just be Oblivion. I mean, that would be a really dark way to end this.
I cannot imagine. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, yeah. I would. It's not what I want. I definitely do not want that because similar to you, I love these characters. But I would have like, I'd be like, wow, they did that.
Yeah.
It'd be like it'd be the equivalent of a Rogue One ending, right? Where like I remember sitting in the theater going Rogue One, knowing like, oh, they're actually gonna do it. They're actually gonna kill every single character that you fell in love with over the last 2 hours.
On an animated show that
wild.
lasted for 3 seasons. That's not for kids. Like that'd be wild.
That would be wild. There's no way. But yeah.
Right on, man. Why don't we go back 250 years from Bad Batch to the High Republic. We got another group, another cadre reeling from the loss of Starlight Beacon. It's a year after Starlight Beacon fell. And we're catching up with this crew led by Keith Trennis, Carrot, and Sarat and Tarek, and a few other noobs, and others, like some red shirts,
other red shirts, So
I guess
amazing.
We're both a little bit in favor of Star Trek. I mean, so just some red shirts and and I'm just excited to meet this group because, the two heroes of this, actually Avar Kriss was a big part of this, but she's sort of sliding into the main run adult novels more now. But we get Keith Trennis and her old master Skier, which we thought Skier perished on, sacrificed himself on Starlight Beacon to save them. But we're finding that a lot of these people have actually survived.
Like a shocking number of people that we thought has anyone died? It's kind of wild.
Wild, but it's great. Kiev is a baller. She's a really interesting character and a great, avatar for us to sort of go through this world. Sarat and Tarek are fascinating. I don't know. They are one mind, but but they're a little bit disjointed now, and so they're evolving based on trauma and all of that, and and then we're dealing with Hutt still, like we were in phase 1.
If you're only reading the books and you're wondering where all the Hutts are, they're in the comics. Come to the comics. Lots of Hutts in like battle gear. Riding Rancors. It's pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet, man. I love these comics because it's also, we've now read 2 books in phase 3, the adult novel and the young adult novel, 3 including Escape from Valor, right? So we've heard about the occlusion zone, we've heard about these scav droids, we've heard about the Fallout, but we haven't really seen it. And I haven't included Adventures yet because I haven't read it. But High Republic Adventures, I think we had a short story in there that we read. But we'll be able to see it there as well, though their adventures are a little more away from the fold. But so it's just great to see them in this era, and we get an awesome cameo. Lorna D, who is no longer with the Nihil, shows up as an enforcer for one of these Hutts. And it's great to see her.
I'm enjoying her in the comics. I think she's like the perfect comic character. I know I don't think she's been on any of our lists of like the best character in High Republic. I will say the name is not doing her any favors because I just think of like Lorna Doone every time I hear her. Like I just think of cookies.
Okay.
And it's interesting. And then there was that audio adventure. That audio
very
book.
Good audiobook. Yeah.
I think Kevin. I was a little lower on it. I think part of it was it was a really interesting experiment. That the part of it was well. And here's the thing. I think it was more me than them because it's an audio. I've been listening to audio adventures and it's like all old time radio, which I used to love. Which is funny when I was older. I used to have like old time radio on CD. I used to listen to it all the time. But like you can't do any internal monologuing because it's all external, and so it's a lot of exposition. It's a lot of people saying things they wouldn't say naturally to explain to the listener because you only have audio, which I'm like, I should respect this,
but you don't.
It's clunky, but I don't, and it's not it's not like I could fix it. I could not do it any better. I would just do it much, much worse. But like, anyway, so there was a whole thing that focused on Lorna D, and that kind of soured me on her a little bit because I wasn't deep into that. But I'm really enjoying her in this as kind of this, like, I'm not in with the Nile. I'm not in with the Jedi for sure. I'm trying to get in with Hutts, but I also just like straight up murdered a Hutt. Like, I love the fact that like she's just constantly like just she's out for herself and is constantly getting the scrapes of just like how is she not dead is what I'm getting at. Is like, I love that she keeps putting herself in positions that should end with her being killed.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, since we're being honest here, Tempest Breaker was the name of it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
She's kind of my Bylert Valance.
Yeah, I know she was. I was trying to get that out of you, and you're like, no, it was a good one. I'm like,
no, but I did enjoy that audiobook more.
Yeah, it's not poorly written at all.
I liked it more than the Battle of Jedha. I thought the Battle of Jedha.
Oh, I forgot about the Jedha. Yeah, that didn't
do anything for me, and it should have been such a big deal.
That was the clunkier one, exposition.
And I mean, some of the characters were cool, but it's like, I don't know. I had the instantly getting thrust into a prequel was weird. And it was like, okay, now I've got a whole other cast of Jedi I need to like memorize. And so for that, I like Sylvester Show, I'm like, Corman Mack, like I'm trying to keep track of all of them, but that reference book would have been a lot pretty handy back then.
It would have been. But I will say this comic, as we'll get to in a little bit, is making you have to remember these guys again.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that.
So it's just kind of tough to like, especially for characters that you can't readily see, and it's just like they're just names. And it's it's like 100 Years of Solitude. They're all like names that look the same, and there's a million of them. And
I will also say though, Tempest Runner, and I think the other one was written by Kevin Scott, who writes the comics, right? So he has a good voice. Like, his voice is great. I think to me it was a limitation of the format, not any of the talent involved.
Yeah, personally. No, I really I get that. But I did enjoy that audiobook. I remember where I was actually when I was listening to it. I think I was like driving to New York or Connecticut for a job, and I listened to most of it.
And just to, sorry, not to keep, as I'm doing my job, we will, at the end of this year, get a third one called Tempest Breaker by Kevin Scott.
Oh,
so we are getting another
that's
audio
the one
drama.
I just said was Tempest Breaker, because I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Oh, it's Tempest Runner is the first one.
Tempest Runner, Breaker. Okay. Breaker is the one at the end of this year, but it seems like a direct sequel. Like it's very much Lorna D. Keith Trent and Avar Chris.
So this is her thing. So I just feel like Jedi die in the High Republic all the time, just like cold deaths. There's like animals that get slaughtered in front of you. Things that you're attached to die all the time.
Yeah.
None of the like main character Nihil die ever.
No. And there's so many of them, and they get into moments where, and I think I think they might be trying to say something of just like, because that's the difference between the Nihil and the Jedi. The Jedi don't take lives, right? Like, they just do this. But like, there's a moment in this comic series that we're talking about where, like, Keith Tress is one of my favorite moments. Like, allows herself to be like mind read to prove that Lorna D killed the Hutt's sister. But like, the second you reveal that to a Hutt, how is Lorna D like? To me, like, that was the moment of just like, yep, she should just be instantaneously
right. Well,
dead.
They did. There was the Hutt pulled her blaster and shot at her immediately, and missed.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And missed. That's my issue. It's just like, come on.
That's what I mean. Just like, okay.
But it's too many. So like, I enjoy it from the moment of just like, it gets to the point of just like, it's almost comical in a good way, to where I'm like, yeah, that she has plot armor. She has the biggest amount of plot armor I've ever seen.
Plot armor on her Leku.
But just kind of enjoying is like how she, it's wild. But it's interesting. And then to the point of like, I do enjoy, so later in the series, in the 5 issues which we're covering, like the Jedi basically, like Avar Kriss and the not Avar Kriss, Keeve Trennis and the twins end up basically kidnapping her, taking her into the occlusion zone. And like one of the twins, who I feel bad, I cannot keep them separate.
Is the one that's leaning dark side right now.
Okay, yeah. So like straight up, like does the Kylo Ren like mind invasion
very cool
moment? Yeah,
and they're like, whoa! They tackle him and be like,
we do not do that.
And his eyes are yellow. I'm gonna have to look back to see. I thought they had the same color eyes, but maybe they don't. I think Tarek has yellow eyes, which is usually dead giveaway. And then Sarah has blue eyes.
Oh, interesting. All right, I like it.
Anyways, trying to keep, it's hard enough keeping track of new characters without them being twins that talk the same. That are in all the same frames.
All the same frames, and they gave one because of his interaction with the Nameless. Like has like the little like implant, but still, it's hard.
Really fun. I love where we find Skier, that he's like in an abandoned, like, just temple, like overrun temple, just like the monster in the middle of the forest. And, I mean, we knew he was going to have issues, right? Like he has this like Trandoshan, like part of their natural, like physiology makes them just like primal animals.
And he had the degenerative disease, which seems to have like a parallel to like a almost like a Alzheimer's type disorder for
Trandoshans.
Trandoshans.
And he has that, which where they can just like go down. And so the planet he's on, this is for Grant, is Kindo Sorn.
There you go.
Which is wild name. And so he's in a bad place, but it makes sense. He's fully regenerated now too. I love a full strength Skier. It was kind of funny when he had like baby arm Skier.
I do miss baby arm Skier, but
we've got that there. And so that's resolved. And then the rest of the team, actually, which is great. They run into, I'm so glad that they animated this character. We haven't seen this Jedi Master since Escape from Valo, or the disaster on Valo.
Right. I think disaster, because Escape from Valo is now. That's
the one. What's
so it's disaster on something Valo. I don't.
But it's from Phase 1. It was when they blew up the fair, World's Fair on Valo, really early in Phase 1.
Yep.
Or middle of Phase 1. But there's this one Jedi Master who's just like a blob. And his name is Orbelin, Archivist Orbelin. And we're seeing this blob wield a lightsaber. And I love this so much for so many reasons.
Me too. So before you get on it, it's either, this is why the naming convention will not help me. It's either Into the Dark, Out of the Shadows, or Midnight Horizon. Do you want to guess which one? I don't know. It's one of those three. I'm going to say it's Midnight Horizon. Right. Well, Into the Dark is the first young adult novel, and I think the Valo. It's a novel. I thought it was it's Rising Storm, maybe.
Storm.
It's either the Rising Storm, okay, because like the Valo attack happens in second
novel
arc.
Yes, second major novel, right?
Of the three, okay, there we go. Okay, sorry, continue. But yes, this character
we spent a lot of time with him in that novel, Rising Storm, and.
Yeah,
and I was just imagining him is great, and they even show what he looked like. There's like a flashback sequence to that him kicking Lorna D's butt, which was like the first time they faked her death, and then there's like another like 2 or 3 times where she should have been dead in like that audio drama, and then Tempest Runner. I think Tempest Runner picks up right after that, and she's like captured, and then with Avar Kriss.
That's right.
She
it is
ends
her
up
kind of
making
escape.
off with Avar Kriss's ship, and I'm like, no, these are Jedi. These are Jedi. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's just like it's a formidable foe apparently.
Apparently, I guess.
And there's another Jedi that I didn't recognize, Kerb Blom. That's what I'm going to call him. But the
is it Gunral
Munshi? Thank you. He's there too. So it's just great to see some new Jedi there. But like seeing the animation of Orbilis, like it's just like just so cool. I love that. Yes, let's do non-bipedal aliens. Let's do weird physical property aliens. Like that's what we're here for.
I especially like to do the whole Star Wars, Star Trek thing again is like Star Wars has a bigger budget than Star Trek for the most part. And like Star Trek always just had to do humanoid aliens and you put some like weird makeup on them to make them slightly not exactly human, which I'm like, I get it. It's the limitations of the 60s and the 80s and whatever. And I appreciate that. But like Star Wars, like you enter the cantina and they're mostly humanoid, but there's some other weird type aliens in there. Like you have like the Thorians and you have like the Hammerheads and all that stuff is just like, come on. Like now at this point, spend it. So I love it. And that's the same thing. Like even with like, even with the other Jedi, the fact that he was a Latero, which is like the Grease character from
Survivor.
The game Survivor. Like I'm like that's perfect. Like any of those like just weird humanoid, but like small and different, and so I appreciate that. But
Fun.
For sure. But I love the idea of just like a amorphous blob is a Jedi.
I think the most important part of this, and I'm sure I'll be proved wrong as I read ahead, but like they run into another new character that like instantly, I don't know if he kills or disables a nameless right in front of your face, like no problem.
Yes.
And the name is Tay Sirik.
So that is not a new character.
Wait, is he from he's from the Battle of Jedha. He's that guy.
Yep. He's phase 2. He's phase 2. He was one of the people like the archivist. No, what would they call them? What was Keeper of the Wills? Yeah. He was a Keeper of the Wills, right? He was the guy who was training as a Keeper of the Wills, or left the order.
Yeah,
he was a thief. He ended up befriending the other Jedi, the main Jedi in the comic series that had Comac. So he's still alive, and he has the claw that he got, that like dark side claw thing that he uses to kill it. That's the thing that he got outside of I think he got it in the statue. As that toppled, like in the Jedi stop, the Jedi statue. Which makes sense again, because he's a Kevin Scott creation, right? So it makes sense that he's tying it. And one of my somewhat biggest complaints about Phase 2, which I actually really liked Phase 2, like the characters, like some of the characters in the main adult novels, I really enjoyed. But like the two main characters in the adult novels were humanoids or humans, and I'm like, they are clearly. Like you get the son of the
Chancellor.
Why can't I think of the name? Chancellor, which I love that character. I thought it was a great character. Ends up in prison, completely reformed, and I'm like, and he's dead. Because like when you go to Phase 3, like he doesn't survive. So I appreciate the fact that we have some longer lived species, perhaps that like could still come into play.
Yeah,
in
it's
Phase
nice
3.
to see them.
Yeah,
at least a little crossover, other than Yariel Poof and Yoda.
Yeah. As of right now, 6 issues of the comic have dropped, but we're covering the first 5 because it's the exact midpoint. And it is, I would say it's a good kind of like clear, like Skier is now
back in the fold. Yeah.
Cured. Back in the fold. So it's a good kind of like, it makes sense to cover it as opposed to like waiting till all 10 come out. Have you read issue 6? Okay. We'll talk about that afterwards, but you're going to see some more connection to Phase 2. Let's put it that way. So there's a little more drawing into that. Yeah. A little more backstory about like what happened to.
Well, so I've seen the cover and it's a young version of Tay Sirik. So.
So we get a little more like post Phase 2, what happens between him and Comac, or Cormac, or whatever. Yeah. Which is like, some juicy stuff in there. Let's say
that sounds fun. Yeah, no, I intentionally was like, I don't want that rattling around in my brain. I need to just focus on the story.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's the way to do it because I just want to like tell it all right now. But we'll talk later.
Excited to read that one, and maybe I'll do it when I go to bed tonight.
There you go.
But I mean, so the reason why this character was exciting to me, not from the callback, obviously, but was that like maybe he has a way to neutralize. Like, because clearly the Jedi are too just inept to like figure out to just like bring a team with you that's non-force sensitive.
Yeah, it's exactly, which they have with them. Yes. They have with them in the first 3 issues of this comic, where I'm like, just bring them with you. They're like, you.
Okay, if it happens, then the Jedi hangs back and you go hunt a thing, and it's like. You figure out weapons that can neutralize it. I don't know if that's the thing.
They're killable. We see them killed.
I mean, Zarak crashed a Jedi fighter into one and killed it one. But but I mean, I think when there's a book on the horizon called, and that's already like the name of the High Republic book. It's the Tears of the Nameless.
Tears of the Nameless. That's what it's called. Yeah. And I mean, they're clearly going to figure it out, but it's a little, it's taking a little too long for my liking, which might be my overall feeling in some ways of the High Republic, which I thoroughly enjoy and like really glad they're doing it. But like, it is a huge endeavor. And with having 9 main series books in every phase, 2 main comic runs plus miniseries comics plus an audio novel plus I'm forgetting other stuff.
It's an avalanche of content. Yeah.
It is, and because of that, and you have like a point A to point B that you have to get to. You've got to slow play it a little bit, and sometimes that slow playing is a little like I don't mind that as we talked about on the air. Like I love boring television. Like boring television is some of my favorite stuff. Like long conversations, I will like watch. I love it.
Right.
Like, give me Who's Afraid. I'll watch Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf any day of the week, and that's just 4 people in a room talking for an hour and a half. It's great. But when it comes at what starts to feel like ineptitude or people who aren't inept, I start to get a little annoyed.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the opposite of inept. I mean, especially since in Phase 2, they actually made more inroads towards defeating the Nameless than they did in Phase 1.
Right? What happened?
And I mean... Yeah, time's relative, and you're right. This is a lot of content, and we're essentially like hitting rewind every time we go to a new cadre because it's like covering the same time frame at the same time as other stories. It's true.
However, it's been a year since they've fully acknowledged the Nameless exist and they know what the Nameless can do. Yeah. It's been a year. Yeah. They say that at the beginning of everything you read. It's been a year. That is too long,
right?
Because we figured it out. In like a day of reading this, we're like, okay, so Jedi, it only affects Jedi. The Jedi work with a lot of non-force sensitive people. Maybe give them guns.
Yeah, and then kill them. But I mean, so I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
Please, that's what we do here. Yeah.
If you're the Jedi, killing things that scare you is not the answer.
Okay.
And
so that even may not come to them even as a solution, right? Is like we're not trying to destroy them. They're a species. They don't know, which I think they say a little bit, right? Of like they're not evil. They don't know what they're doing. And they've been tortured and experimented on, which I think the Jedi have mentioned. So all right. Okay,
I mean they're kept hungry, like I mean that's why I think they're going to explore more in Tears of the Nameless, or at least I hope they do. It's like what are the real motivations of these creatures? And I think that's what Reith Silas is tasked with looking into right now.
Yeah.
And another big Reith Silas fan. I love that dude too. But and so I think they're trying to like it's like, okay, well they're affecting us within the Force and we try to understand the Force. Why don't we just try and understand what's going on here so we can properly address it?
Maybe we can solve the problem, not kill the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so you bring a horde of non-force users with stun weapons.
Right.
Or
at least a bunch of them that when, I don't know, our Jedi start convulsing, they can like at least pick them up and run back into the ship and fly away,
Right.
as opposed to like letting them get turned into stone.
Right.
Like there's got to be some middle ground here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that explanation quite a bit, and that does track that. I can make that my headcanon comfortably.
All right. Well, if we've done nothing else here today,
there we go. But to get back to that, why can't the guy's name? That is slipping out of my mind. The one they reintroduced.
Zarak?
Zarak, yes, thank you. That is a dark side artifact.
Yeah.
Now is it now I'm trying to get everything confused. Is it dark? Yeah, it is dark side. Now I was starting to go to Dr. Aphra. Let's not do that. Which I love Dr. Aphra, but I'm like,
right.
That does not attach to this timeline. But yes, it's a dark side artifact, I believe. Don't quote me on that. So it makes sense too, right? Because it's one of the things I think Grant or has talked about, or we've talked about, that like, what do we know that this? We know it eats the Force, but like, what does it feel about dark side? Like, how's dark side react to it?
Yeah. They've been sort of dropping these little hints that maybe it doesn't affect dark side users as much, and that's also, I mean, they again, I'm forgetting his name, and Grant knows it right now and is screaming at us. But the person that Reith Silas is talking to at the end of the last book, you might know him as well, and his name is
it has the goggles, burns his eyes
that
out.
Dude, he is, being has been recruited by Yoda, but like fell to the dark side and did some dark side stuff, and like they're looking to him for answers. So why are they looking to him for that?
But like. And did it in service to the Jedi. Like he made like a decision to go dark to figure out how to defeat the Nameless. Like I love that character, that idea of not like I went dark because I was greedy, but like I made a utilitarian decision to go dark to save everyone else. It's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's very much like trying to, but it's like, I love that because it's not like Anakin who went dark to save his wife, which is like good, I get it. But like, no, I tried to go dark to save everyone. It's interesting. Yeah, it's a really good way to do it.
So anyways, I'm excited to see some inroads here. Like they're just giving us breadcrumbs, but I'll take breadcrumbs as long as it's inching, the plot forward towards defeating the Nameless. Like it is so slow played that it's going to be so cathartic when they defeat the Nihil and defeat the Nameless. Like it's going to feel really good when that happens.
Yeah.
Assuming,
totally.
I mean, it does. So, it
has to, yeah.
And I'm looking really forward to that. But, I mean, there are also, I think there's 5 High Republic adventures out right now. And there are the first 2 of the Hidden Blade, which is like the continued adventures of Ty York. From Monsters of Temple Peak fame.
There's a couple other, there's that, and there's another standalone, like a single issue, a one shot. I was to get my comic terminology. A one shot. There's like Crash Landing, maybe. I think it's like High Republic Adventures Crash Landing, which we could do. So there's definitely stuff like we're gonna hit. Like I mean, clearly, like the High Republic is working for whatever metrics they're using, because this phase they've greatly expanded the number of comics series they're doing and other stuff. So like they would only do that if people are buying the first 2. So that's great.
It'll be interesting to see where this goes from here. Is this the new model? Will they take another time period and recruit a new crop of, writers? I'd love for them to like do that with some like expanded universe writers like Lucino and John Jackson Miller and Karen Travis and like I'd love to see them just like cook on it.
I agreed, and I kind of love the idea of like, let's just pick a time period and tell like a just giant space opera story, right? Like just go I don't know, 500 years in the past, right? Or or I mean, we've already talked about go in the distant future. They're not, I don't think they're going to do that, but like just give them something, right? Like I love that. It is the closest thing to the old EU. That's what I really love about the High Republic, is it just reminds me of old EU story stuff, that they're like, we are free to do a lot of things here, which is great.
Rad, man. Anything else you wanted to talk about here? I think I got everything I wanted.
Yeah, I think that's everything. We just got I mean, yeah, next week we're gonna cover the
finale.
Bad Batch series finale. That'll be probably the one and only thing we'll talk about. That'll give us enough to talk about for sure. And then I don't know, keep an eye out for little drops of either on the Instagram or maybe some vid bits or something else for May the 4th marathon.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big week.
That. Yeah.
Because May the 4th is obviously on Saturday. It's this week. May the Force be with you all. In anticipation of that, I don't know how you're going to celebrate, but do something fun for yourself. You deserve it. And start nerdy and Star Warsy. It should be really cool. I've never properly celebrated a May the 4th, so I'm excited to do it this year.
Me either. Yeah, this is kind of the first one.
And,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we're doing that. And yeah, it should be great. So this week we'll talk mainly about the Bad Batch finale, and we'll see how that goes. And I guess it depends when we record the pod, really.
We'll talk off air about
and
that.
And then Tales of the Jedi is going to be there too. So, that might need its own episode.
Probably. I did realize I'm trying to figure out when we watch that on May the 4th, but there are like breaks in between movies, and I'm like, you probably could, if you bring your iPad with you, probably watch in between the movies, watch an episode of
Tales of the Jedi. That'd be so die hard. They'll be like, over in this theater you can watch Tales of the Empire for an hour.
Oh, that'd be so smart. Yeah, we're just gonna like put them on there. You can run into the other. Like we'll just show them in between the movies. That'd be amazing.
Them,
yeah.
So,
for sure. Yeah.
All right, man. We missed you, Grant. Looking forward to partying with you next week. Looking forward to watching a lot of Star Wars movies with you. And Adam, this has been a blast, man. Been fun hanging out.
It's been super fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. We will talk to you next week on another edition of
Cantina Chronicles. Cantina Chronicles.